Hey guys, welcome back to the Talos Principle, and it's time, finally, to get into building B. What do we have in store for us here? We have a lot of yellow right off the bat, presumably in order to unlock... so the yellow is going to be for some sort of new unlockable item inside there, whatever the new puzzle mechanic's going to be. They're going to layer on top of the jammer, the connector, and whatever the other one's called. The bouncy box of awesomeness. So there's lots of yellow to unlock those things, and we have 2 green down here, 1 green down there. We only have like 3 greens, and that's because, looking at the top corner of the screen, that's all we need to unlock C. And that's all that green does, is unlock the blocks. So C's the last building, so I guess these 3 blocks are the only ones that are green in the entire game. Lots of red, though. In fact, I looked at the sign for C a second ago, and it was all red. So I'm going to assume that red is involved in this tower somehow. But I'm going to try to do this in order, just to not get completely overwhelmed by the number of options I have anyway. But right off the bat, we have a new terminal. What do you have to say? We have Oxyrhynchus HTML. The great irony of the Oxyrhynchus papyri is that such a vital source of information about the ancient world exists only because of a garbage dump. While the Library of Alexandria burned at the hands of the fanatics and conquerors, depriving us of unimaginable insights into history, philosophy, and art, the papers carelessly thrown away by the ex-citizens of Oxyrhynchus survived to the modern day. And though it is true that a great deal of what we know today is because of the conscious efforts of individual and organizations such as the spectacular translation and preservation work done during the Islamic Golden Age, so much more is simply the result of coincidence and luck. We've lost texts that the ancients considered to be absolutely essential, while utterly trivial, while utterly trivial, even plagiarized, work has survived unharmed. And as someone's pointed out, this might be hex code, and if that's the case, that'd be certainly interesting to find out. But if we want our descendants to remember more than glittering emo vampire, if we want our descendants to remember more than glittering emo vampires and auto-tuned teen pop stars, we have to invest in to make sure that, and then a whole lot of missing text, of course. So they're talking about that. We need to talk about carefully taking advantage of our own stuff being documented for the future. Otherwise, the dumb parts of our lives are going to be all that is remembered. Book of Osiris.wiki. It's a wiki. Those are not very common. The Book of the Scribe Osiris, sometimes also referred to as the Book of the Journey to Aru, is the ancient Egyptian text discovered in the excavation of Oxyrhynchus. It has caused a certain degree of controversy among Egyptologists, as some argue it is the classic funerary text, such as the Book of Coming Forth a Day, while others believe it to be a poetic work not intended to be understood literally. The book tells the story of a dying man who asks the scribe about the afterlife. The scribe, a servant of Osiris, describes how the man's Ka, or life force, will be separated from his Ba, his personality, and how he will have to reunite the two to become an Ankh, living intellect. The Ak? That's just a spelling that does not coincide with how pronunciation works in English, so I don't know. Passing a series of trials in the Duat underworld in order to reach the paradise of Aru. Unlike similar texts, the Book of the Scribe of Osiris focuses less on giving advice or... A recent study, Carnahan/Hassan, suggests that the text may have been intended as philosophical commentary on the world and the living through the allegory of Duat. It remains unclear whether this was the intent of the original pre-Alexandrian author or a result of the latter translation into Greek. The earlier manuscript, which is considered to be authentic, is too fragmentary to provide answers, though perhaps further excavation may... So more corrupted and missing sentences. The funny thing about that little message we got is that I was like Ka and Ba and stuff like that. Obviously, I don't know how to pronounce them necessarily, so I could be wrong about the pronunciation, but I had an idea of what they meant already because of the fact that as a kid, I read the manga the original manga for Yu-Gi-Oh!, which of course came to the United States as an anime that was all about card games, but the manga, at least originally, was not actually about the card games, weirdly enough. I have seen the truth. Only Elohim can save us from eternal oblivion. Uh-oh. But yeah, I knew what some of those words because that manga had heavy emphasis on Egyptian words and things like that. But I want to point something out that someone, one of the commenters went through some of the code that sort of shows up in one of the emails, and not the email. It was when I found the blue screened computer, he found a date, what he thought was like a timestamp, and he translated the timestamp into understandable language. And if he's right, it seems to indicate that we're in the distant future. Like, I don't remember the exact number, but I think it was like the year 13,000-ish, or something really crazy like that. So that would explain a great deal of the corrupted data we've had.
A new land stands before you, my child. And know that this is a land of death, but also great beauty. As you walk amongst these tombs, consider all those who came before you, and how they served the greater purpose of which you are also part.
Yeah, I figured as much. We had the Egyptian email, the Egyptian documents upstairs, Land of Death. They said there'd be a great desert, so the moment he said Land of Death, I'm like, yep, this is the desert level, because I think we had an earlier message about, like, I heard that there was a great, expansive desert. By the way, that is some extensive lens flare, which I approve of. I actually don't mind lens flare and stuff. It doesn't even bother me or distract me in the Star Trek movies by J.J. Abrams, which people love to complain about. So, this is one of the items we can unlock. It requires all of those yellow items. So, I guess, like, see how it's all ghostly looking right here? I suppose what happens is if you find this item in the environment before you unlock it, it looks like that, and you can't use it. So that means the puzzle's impossible until you unlock the item. Did not know that, which is what led to me being so confused about how to proceed earlier. Because I thought levels were impossible to me until I unlocked certain items, and that made me stop thinking about stuff too early. I'm running around the area because I'm trying to see if there's anything around here before I run into one of the portals specifically. Might not be, but let's see. Like, yeah, if you watch the beginning of this series, I gave up on a few puzzles earlier than I should have because I was convinced that I was missing an item that I needed. Is this a Stargate? Is it because I collected stars in general? So, yep. Okay, so this one requires 10 stars also. So there's 10 stars per level. And it looks like once I get inside, I get access to 3, I want to say gray shapes? Are those gray? What does that mean? Is there an extra gray type of shape? I'm gonna have to go back to the first world at some point, World A, just to see if I can find every single star available to me. But let's go ahead and get started. World 1, or B1, I guess. Immediately another computer. Blank walls. We have five yellows. I'm finally getting some sense out of the entity in the archive, though at some cost to my sanity. I am beginning to think this Elohim wields no more control over the world than we do. I believe that's true, because I think the Elohim is, since we've heard that he's like an MMORPG AI, basically, I think he's stuck here just as much as we are. I think he might even be playing a character. He might not even be crazy or think that he's God. He might just think that it's his job to roleplay God, because he's a character that's meant to help with people role-playing games and combine information to create a game for people, so that might be it. Osiris1.txt. Original translation by E.A. Wallace Budge. Annotations by... The dying man went unto the scribe who resided in PR Medjed 1 and said, Behold, I am weak of the body. My days under the holy sun of Amun-Ra are coming to an end. Though I have spent my years in service of the two lands, I have not studied the... Tell me, you are wise in the writings of the dead. Who lies ahead of my journey? What will I face in the land of the Westerners? Oh. Is this the same story we were just reading about the existence of? And the scribe spoke, saying, At the appointed time, 1. It is likely the location was changed according to who the copy of the book was made for. The dying man is an avatar of the owner. 2. In the older manuscript, this is rendered as some controversy as to whether it... 3. The dead. Compare with Kenti Amentui, the foremost of the Westerners, a title later given to Osiris. 5. Sometimes mistaken for a mistranslation of on Budge's part. This is actually almost certainly a mistranslation by the ancient scribe. The equivalent portion of the older manuscript is sadly not extant. So we don't know what 5 is a reference to, because 5 is not even quoted in the first place. But PR Med Jed, so they're saying that the place where the scribe is from changes, I mean the dying man's location changes based on where the book was printed, or where the manuscript was printed specifically. Okay. Huh. Yeah, there's definitely annotations there to go through, but I'm not going to spend too much time on it. Got it, lyrics. Let it go, lyrics? Cannot load video file. 24,000 views! My new song with lyrics, gotta laugh about this stuff. Laughter is the best medicine, LOL. Oh god. It just keeps going. I don't wanna... Do I have to read this? Oh no. Okay, we're doing this. I've got it, you've got it. He's got it, she's got it. Mama's got it, daddy's got it, baby's got it, granny's got it, laddie's got it, fatty's got it, happy's got it, sappy's got it. Everybody's got it, come on! Jack's got it, Fred's got it. This is terrible. It's just one line. Dog is fine, and then just lots of woofing. I don't feel like barking. I'm gonna move on now. That was like the text feed of a YouTube video, but the video is not loadable. Disgruntlemeister's Blogstasy, episode 204. Holy shit. Okay, so someone's blog with a really unwieldy name, I assume. I don't know about everybody else, but I'm afraid of dying. I don't see any reason to believe there's an afterlife. I'm an organism like any other. When my brain stops working, my consciousness will cease, and I will be gone. And you know what? I can't just embrace that. I can't say I'm okay with it, and I've accepted it, or some nonsense like that. I don't want to have an ending. It terrifies me. If I had a genie right now, I'd wish for immortality. Who wouldn't? Oh, but you wouldn't really want to be immortal, the pseudo-philosophers say, pretentious drivel. Everybody wants to live forever. Maybe everybody deserves to live forever too, but we can't. So we are here. Live with it. Or rather, don't. I enjoyed that. Because that's exactly what I tell people sometimes. Because yeah, I'm not religious, and I do think that when you die, it's kind of just over. And that's a fucking not great thing to think. It's what I think, but it's not, I'm not happy about it. It's exactly... Like, I've never bought that... I'm sorry, I'm looking for QR codes, that's why I'm looking around like that. I'm not happy with the idea that people are like, oh, but no, immortality is a gift, because you want to do stuff while you're still here, and it gives you humanity... A lot of anime in particular likes to spell it like... both anime and Dragon Age, actually, and Lord of the Rings, too, tries to spell it like, oh, but that's what gives human drive, and that's why they're so special, because they're short-lived and stuff like that. But I'm like, no, fuck you, I want to live forever. I made a box float. Seriously, it was awesome. Is that what we're gonna do? Is that gonna be our next item? Does it make floaty boxes? Ooh, can I go over there? Let's try to go over there. I can go over here. Is there anything cool over here? Any stuff? But yeah, I don't buy the whole thing of like, you don't want to live forever because you have to see people die, or stuff changes, or you'll get bored, which is always one of the weird ones I've heard. Like, in some fictional stories, there's immortal people who just get bored with life, basically. Don't buy that. The world changes too much, too regularly for boredom to be a problem. Window through a door. I mean, it's baffling, like, you go to prison for, like, a relatively short sentence. Like, I mean, like, one of those sentences where it's like, this kind of ruined your life, but you weren't there, like, half your life. It's just like you were in prison for, like, 5 years, and now, like, that's never coming back. Those people that go to prison for a few years, they come back out and they're like, why is the world's changed so much? Everyone's walking around town just staring at a fucking rectangle in their pocket, and they just carry it around and they keep touching it, and no one looks at each other, and like, everything's different now. Like, that's the bouncy guys. Those guys aren't such a big deal. So here's my red dispenser. I need a receptacle. There's another connector back there. That'll be good. Oh, can't get to it till I close that off. I'm guessing that barrier probably has a red receptacle. Hello, bouncy guy. I like having those guys around. They're an obstacle, obviously, but they're not there to annoy the shit out of me by shooting at me and murdering me. They're just there to get in the way of some of my items that I use, and that's way less irritating than the death bots of lasers. Okay. So obviously the key here is to get the door open, and the question is... Ow, ow. Didn't mean to do that. The question is, how long can we keep it? Can we keep it open long enough to go through it? Yes, we can. Okay. I just don't understand this one. I figured I'd try to make some progress here, but honestly, it's such a thankless task compared to what else is out there. By the way, why can't I just go through these windows? Like, I'm a very mobile-looking robot, I have to say. There we go. I'm a little surprised that your robot doesn't have the ability to be a little more flexible and go through windows like that. It just seems odd to me. Okay, there's an X receptacle, so clearly I just need to point that across. Ta-da! Oh, wait. Nope, no, I can't. I don't know, maybe I can... Okay. So clearly I want to make this laser persistent. So if I reposition this a little bit, I could actually make line of sight better. Let's try this. Back off as much as possible. Because I figure this is probably my only source of laser. So if I make it persistent enough... There we go. If I can make this persistent enough, I can actually stop it from being cut off by that robot altogether, because of the trick we learned where if you can connect a circuit through a doorway. There we go. There we go. There we go. Now it's self-perpetuating. It also looks really fucking cool. But yeah, now I can take this one out and it'll keep itself open. Ta-da! And that gets rid of our problem with the robot interrupting our circuit. But if I move either of those at any point, I'll have to redo it from scratch, which will be annoying, because I don't wanna. But yeah, that takes the annoying buzzer bot out of our cycle at the very least. There we go. Hey, but yeah, I feel like I could keep myself entertained with immortality for a pretty long time. And even if I did get bored or a bunch of sad stuff happened, you still get to live for a long ass time. All right, yellow item. That's it. That's it. Whoa, look how far. There's a large desert area. Granted, it probably only goes out a little bit, and then past that is just a backdrop. That looks like... What does that look like? It actually kind of looks like southeastern California. Some of the areas that I've been for geologic maps. I think a lot of hot mountains look the same, though. People forget that California is this weird place that has, like, desert and snow and beach and all those other things. So let's see, that's a whole extra room down there. So I'll go right next. I usually go left to right all the way around a room, but this time it looks like I'll go left and right, then go forward. Oops. I usually go sort of clockwise or counterclockwise, because it seems like the way to go, but this time it seems like there's sort of a chamber off in the distance that has more rooms in it. I don't know. Something about spatial reasoning and basic weird concepts of how I deal with shapes of... Oh, there's a terminal. I figured there had to be something on one of these things sooner or later. Milton Library Assistant. I'm sure someone's annoyed that we're already on our third terminal of the episode. Ooh, we're actually getting talked to this time. Again. Hello again, I've been checking your responses against library archives, and in order to assist you further, I need some additional information. Can you tell me I'm sorry. Can you tell me what is to you the most important difference between a pebble and a tree? So, earlier we talked to the serpent character, someone that's trying to tell me to not talk to the god character, but this is the different one. This is the previous one where the AI is trying to continually reason with me because I took the test to get network access, but to get a, an admin account, and they denied me because I think they decided I wasn't human enough, so I'm still trying to prove them wrong. Difference between tree and a pebble. Well, the tree is alive. I also could have said the rock is older because, you know, geologist obsessions, but you know, I feel like tree is alive is the human test. Now, what is the relevant difference between a tree and a frog? A frog is conscious. A frog is delicious. Ha 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 ha. Now we're getting somewhere. Let's try something harder. What's the difference between a frog and you? What makes you a person? Huh. Now comes the thing of, like, do I do the thing that a lot of humans do, or I decide that I'm arbitrarily more important than frog, or do I reason that maybe I'm on the same plane of reasoning as frog, and just frog doesn't have crazy civilizations? Frogs might have feelings. Frog's probably self-aware. Is a frog rational? I'm gonna go with nothing important. Frogs are people too, sort of. I don't know. Frogs are just sentient enough that they feel like they make decisions on their own to some extent. They just don't communicate and lack basic skills that lets them advance further. I don't know. I'm gonna commit. Checking user.prof. Now that confuses me because during certification you indicated that personhood was best associated with human beings, and by definition that rather seemed to exclude frogs and the like from the picture. How about we strike a deal? I'll agree that animals are every bit as valuable or pointless as human beings. You agree that there are some activities persons are capable of that frogs are not. That's exactly what I just said. We nailed it. We're having a perfect understanding here, because that's exactly what I just said. It's like, well, they're sentient and they think and they have some measure of goals, but they lack communication and building capacity, so they can't really advance much. That's like the sentence I just said before this. So we're getting along great. You agree that there are some activities that persons are capable of that frogs are not, because if frogs are people, then the certification program is radically unfit for purpose. Agreed. Very sensible. Terminology is so important. What I'd like to put to you is that the important difference between you and a frog is that you are rational, you are self-aware. That is what makes you a person. Let us take stock. I think we can tentatively conclude two things. A person must be rational or self-aware. A person must be conscious. What I suggest we do to help resolve your problem is ask whether you are in fact those things. Are you aware of yourself? Can you rationalize your existence? Yes. I tend to agree with you. Though your responses so far have been a little eccentric, I resigned to admit that you are right. The matter of whether or not you are conscious seems rather more elusive. What is consciousness in your opinion? Jesus. Consciousness is what separates from animals. Consciousness is what it is like to be me. I mean, yeah, okay. Consciousness is feelings and senses. No. Yes? No, yes. Consciousness is far outside my area of expertise. Ha 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 ha. I want to say that animals are conscious, aren't they? Like, even if you argue that only humans are rational and self-aware, I would say that consciousness is something that every living creature has that has a mind, right? I feel like I need a better definition of consciousness almost. I'm just gonna fuck with them like I have been so far. Consciousness is what it's like to be me. That hardly answers the question. What is in ordinary terms? Can I touch it? What is it made of? It's not made of anything and you cannot touch it at all. Consciousness is another word for soul. Consciousness is a complex functional system. Consciousness is beyond the law of physics. Consciousness is made of neurons. I'm gonna say consciousness is beyond the law of physics. I may not even think that's true in real life, I'm not even sure, but it's hard to articulate these kind of conversations. So interesting. Thinking. You know, I really feel like we're making progress. We'll have you through that certification program in no time. In the meantime, I will mull over your proposal and notify you if I come to any conclusions. Terminating session. Alright, so now we're back to our documents. More documents! More reading for me! The role of mutation in evolution is particularly fascinating. Mutation is essentially an error in the organism's central database. A variable gets changed, a piece of information is accidentally doubled or combined with another. Most of the time, the result is the equivalent of a bug, causing anything from minor problems to complete system shutdown, i.e. death. But sometimes the new information is functional, giving the organism an advantage against the challenges it faces, in which case it has a much higher chance of being passed to the next generation. If you consider how unlikely a beneficial mutation is, and how long it takes for such a mutation to propagate, this process can give you an amazing insight into just how vast the genetic history of each living organism. Simultaneously, it is intriguing to consider what a major role random errors have played in the evolution of life itself. The same process that has killed so many of us, often in horrific ways, is also responsible for our very existence. That was mutation, not evolution. There's also an evolution, though, and capacity. I actually wrote a book about evolution. I have not written a book about anything. I wrote when I took paleontology, I wrote one of my longest papers I've ever written probably was about the evolution of dogs. and the human interaction in the process of domesticating wolves into dogs. Evolution is a hell of a thing to get into when you start reading about it. Capacity.eml. From Trevor Donovan to Alexandra Drennan. Subject EL capacity. Yeah, no worries. EL is not only ridiculously fast, it also has a bazillion tons of space. Even while hosting a full copy of the archive, it'll totally be able to handle all of your project's data needs. Assuming its output is as you suggested, I mean, the worst case scenario would be like centuries. That should be enough, right? Right? Whoopsie, it took millennia. You guys fucked up. Evolution.html. Favorited by George Jameson. One of the common misunderstandings about evolution, sometimes accidentally promoted by people who should know better, is that it's an active process. Sometimes the term evolve is even applied to individual beings, as if some invisible force has driven them to suddenly change. But the truth is that individuals don't evolve. The term evolution describes a long-term process that can be observed in an entire population across time due to, well, I'm just going to say natural selection. Example, in response to an external threat or challenge. If an individual coincidentally has a trait that allows it to deal with that challenge more effectively than others, it is more likely to pass on that information to its descendants. That information gives them an advantage, so over time, they become the dominant model of that species. The individuals experience no significant genetic change during their lifetimes, but each of them is part of the evolution of the species. That is absolutely true. A lot of people really struggle with the definition of evolution, and it might be because they talk to the wrong people, and also a general sense of not talking about things. See, a problem with a problem with a lot of things about evolution. I have to check the site because I'm just going to be thorough here. People don't understand natural selection and evolution very well, and that's because they heard the phrase survival of the fittest and stopped there probably, and just think that everyone gets better to do better survival and stuff, and that's it. And that's not really quite how it works. Something about a star. You mean I'm going to be a star? Oh, hello, bouncy friend. So we have blue receptacle, blue dispenser, red receptacle. Red receptacle has a star in it. Let me guess, this whole challenge is going to have no red... It's going to have no red dispenser. I'm probably supposed to get that laser all the way from there to here somehow. Which I've succeeded at 0 times, but this is another time that I see a place where it's probably supposed to happen. But anyway, people think about evolution and natural selection like it's some kind of force, like it just happens on its own, and that's not really true. So clearly I'm supposed to go all the way around here, because this guy's bouncing back and forth too fast for the door to stay open, but if I take this route, then I can have more time for the thing to charge. Careful, back off. There we go. Perfect. Wait, really? Ta-da, yellow. That was a 3-second level. What? Really? Are you serious? Wow. They really expect me to not be nearly as good with lasers as I currently am, huh? Because that was a joke. Obviously, that's the obvious problem, though. It's like, how do get... It's got to be a red laser opportunity, but I don't know how I'm going to get it across from here. It also might be from further in that direction, too. I don't know. There's a lot of places a red laser could potentially come from, but I don't have access to many of them right now. But yeah, what people don't get is that just an organism either lives or dies, and if it lives, all of its traits get passed on, period. A lot of traits are not even relevant to natural selection or evolution, they're just sort of carry-ons. That's why we have varying eye color and skin color. No, skin color is actually more evolutionary, but stuff that like hair color and eye color specifically don't necessarily have a ton of importance, especially in modern society, so they just kind of spread however, like willy-nilly. It doesn't really matter. There's a lot of traits that don't really matter. Trying to look around real quick just to see if there's a specific spot. Where does this ladder go to? What? That seems important. Oh, okay. So, we don't need the laser to go in that door anymore because that door doesn't do anything. So, let's go grab us some dispensers and see if I can finally successfully get a laser to go across to another chamber. If I fail, we'll just start the next... We'll just end the episode probably anyway, and I'll start the next episode at the next test chamber. So if you don't want to see me struggle with this, you could always just watch the next episode. Yeah, can't climb while carrying an item, but can I pick it up when I'm up there? I can't take it with me? Yeah. There's gotta be a way to take it up there. There's no way that there's not a way to get it up there. Maybe I just needed to get it closer to the wall. Maybe I bumped it a little too much. Come on. Really? I can't pick it up? That seems like the thing to do. Hey, Tony. If I could, I would be you. Sorry. Let's see. Does this chamber have any secrets in it? No, just an empty room. There's no ledges or special things that could help me with this puzzle. Okay, can I put this on top of you? No? Just checking my options. Yeah, it's gotta be... The secret has to be involved. I have to put a thing up there. So how do I get it up there? Is there a particularly high spot nearby? Can I stack them on top of each other? I could show you the world. There's gotta be a position that lets you... Can I crouch? Cannot crouch. All I can do is go in first person and third person. See, is there a particularly low spot around here? This one looks... That spot looks a little slightly low, but for the most part, no. Does not seem to be a variable here. Really, I can't just throw it up there? It's impossible? How do I... So there must be a block. There must be some way to get a block in here, then, if I can't get the laser up there. I don't know. This is a point worthy of further investigation, so we'll take a look at it later, but... I mean, the obvious option is to try to carry it up, and if I can't carry it up, then I don't know how to proceed without more information. So hopefully we'll find more information, but that's probably the end of this episode, so I'll see you guys in the next chamber.